Welcome to the social-engineer.org podcast, the Security Awareness Series, episode 152. Which, by the way, just saying that number is a little fear-inspiring that we're at 152 episodes. I'm Chris Hadnagy, the CEO and founder of Social Engineer, social-engineer.org, as well as the Innocent Lives Foundation, and I've been hosting this for all 152 episodes. And at my side is my trusty... I was going to say sidekick. Not really a sidekick. Like, I work for him. Ryan MacDougall. Ryan, how are you today? Thanks for joining me.
I'm doing great, Chris. Yeah, I'm Ryan MacDougall. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Social Engineer LLC. I'm also the lead open source intelligence trainer for SECom, having taught at both Black Hat and DerbyCon when that was a thing, as well as a bunch of private classes. I've been in the information technology field for almost 24 years, with the last 9 being focused on adversary simulation and security awareness. Thanks for having me.
And he's only 26, so he started when he was 2. So just saying. Just saying.
Wow,
right?
That makes me feel great. You think
Yeah.
I'm 26. That's amazing.
That's my goal. So this episode is sponsored by social-engineer.com. We are a trusted information security company specializing in fully managed voice phishing or vishing and email phishing programs, as well as security assessments. I'm sure you can't even turn the news on without thinking or hearing about ransomware. Another attack has occurred, another breach. You're all worried about your information, your employees. What can we possibly do to safeguard them against vishing and phishing? That's exactly what we specialize in. We actually delve into the science behind why these things work and then help companies figure out educational processes and programs to defend against them. So you can find out more information on our services on social-engineer.com. You can check out a whole new website there. In addition, did you know that we run a Slack channel? If you didn't know, look down. I think this is the direction I'm pointing, right? Down there in the show notes is the link for the Slack channel. We have almost 1,000 people in there now every day talking about things like phishing, vishing, pretexting. We've had 6 people find jobs through the Slack channel, all different types of discussions about psychology, nonverbals. It's just a full of everything to do with from the physiological and psychological parts of social engineering, so you can join us in there. Also, if you're not watching this on YouTube, but you're listening to it on one of our platforms like iTunes or Spotify or one of the other many platforms, then you should give a big old shout out to Clutch, because the opening, closing, all the music is thanks to those awesome guys. And if you don't know who they are, shame on you. Seriously, shame on you.
Find out.
Go over to pro-rock.com. They're actually about to start not a 30-year tour, a tour in, well, whatever. Just go check it out, pro-rock.com. Best band on the planet. Obviously, they're better than me because I don't even know how to speak. And last but not least, check out the Innocent Lives Foundation.org. My amazing team over there at ILF is working really hard to unmask anonymous online child predators. We've just helped with over our 300th case this year. Since we started for 4 years, but this year we just hit our 300th case. And we work very closely with law enforcement to make sure that the people who are trafficking and hurting children are brought to justice. So you can check out the work we're doing and how you can help at innocentlivesfoundation.org. Now, let's get to our show. I'm really excited about this one. As you know, this particular series of our podcast is focusing on the security awareness side of how we can keep our population safe. And who better than our guest, which is Bernie Acre. Bernie is a chief information officer for a whole city, Bryan, Texas. Now, just get this, what he has to have charge of here. All technology and communication systems for fire, police, public works, the electric utility, as well as all the general support organizations that are part of all of those different entities. He's also currently appointed member of the Texas Cybersecurity Council, and he's been in this for 41 years, which is amazing since he's only 42 years old, and including 20 years in the U.S. Air Force and 21 years in electric utility industry and municipal government. I don't know about this, Bernie, because this bio makes it sound like you should be 150 years old, and there's no way you are. But I can't thank you enough for joining us on the show today. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate you asking. Yes.
It's actually exciting for us because one of the goals for us in this show is to really figure out how we can apply, someone with your level of experience, all the things you've done through your career when we look out today and we see just everything is getting breached, everything is getting hit by ransomware, and the very things that you are protecting in your daily life are the things that people want to attack. So, let's just talk, let's go back in time a little bit in your transition from the Air Force to where you were working for a municipality and now into where you are now. How did that transition take place?
Well, in 2000, I started looking for my next career when I grew up after I retired from the military. And randomly, and it's totally random, I found a help wanted ad, and a headhunter, headhunter reached out to me, and it fit. It was, in my opinion, a perfect fit, and to the headhunter I was as well. I got hired at the electric utility here. Wanted to try something else. In the military, you kind of want to move every 3-4 years. And so after 7 years, I decided I want to try something else. And so we moved, and I worked for an electric cooperative. My boss here, and he and I worked together at the electric utility. He wanted me to come back and merge everything into one and take over the entire technology processes here at the City of Bryan. So, been back here 8 years now, and interesting conversation, two of them I would like to really share because it's very pertinent. My CISO and I were talking that before 2001, we both started here at the City of Bryan, 2001, and neither one of us thought about cybersecurity. We just didn't, it wasn't a thing. And look where we are today. And ironically, Chris, you will love this. Yesterday, we do an annual penetration test on our network, and this week was the on-site portion of the pen test. And this year, we added the social engineering aspect.
Nice.
Thank you. And I have been bragging about you to the team, and I'm hoping to get them at your conference because every one of them, I see everybody at that conference in them. So they actually did some physical, try to physically access some facilities here. They were able to. And one fire station, they thought the door locked, but it didn't. Uh-huh. And so they were able to install a Raspberry on the network. Of course, my cybersecurity team, it was identified. They were alerted. We left it alone this time because we knew what was going on. But then they went back, and there were some emotions flowing. They were upset. But it's all and that's the only people that knew about the exercise was myself, my CISO, the compliance team, and the city manager. I asked him if he wanted me to tell anybody else. He said no. So I have to tell you, though, I did tell the chief of police. I didn't want anybody shot. It's
usually a good idea,
That's a good move.
Yeah, it's a good move to keep your people from getting arrested or worse. That's always a good idea.
Yeah, and they did a great job.
One of the things that that I've heard in previous conversation with you is about your culture and the culture you created around your security awareness program. And this is a big topic for us because Ryan and I are always talking on this show and also in our company about culture. Like, we've worked with companies, sadly, that like to do the shame and guilt, and if you mess up, it's almost like getting punched in the face. And we work with companies that don't know how to handle it at all, and everything in between. So what makes you proud of the culture that you created around employee awareness at the City of Bryan?
Chris, you read my bio, 41 years in the business, and that's just unbelievable. I can't believe it. This is by far the best team I've ever had. I am rarely an emotional person, but this team just makes me proud. Very strong, work well together. We argue, but we work well together. So about 7 years ago, fishing and training all became more mainstream, and I still think we were ahead of the curve on a lot of things, but we partnered with KnowBe4 very early on and started using their phishing campaigns. I have the full endorsement of the council. I have the full endorsement of the executive team. And I'm on record of having locked the mayor out of his account because of not finishing his training in time.
And you're proud of that.
And I'm still here.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure. Because congratulations, maybe.
It's a joke, but it really did happen. Yeah. But I did it. I said, Mayor, I got to do this because I just haven't had time. I said, okay, House Bill 3834 in Texas, you got to do it. He goes, yeah, I know we do, and I support it. And he's all 100% behind it. But he's a very busy businessman. So he finally took it, and we gave him his access back. It wasn't long. So anyway, we developed an organizational structure in our cyber program. I organized a cyber security and compliance team with the electric utility. We have about 700 different protocols we have to follow to keep the lights on. We have, just from a technology perspective, they also have the operational controls that we have pieces of. So that's part of their program. We do the PCI compliance, we do the PII, we do the red flags. Where that team is an extremely busy shop, and I think our employees have learned a lot through all that we are doing, and they have grown. This assessment, I just had the out brief this morning. They said that we scored the highest of anybody they've ever done, and they do DoD facilities as well. So that speaks to the team. It really does. We have cyber warrior coins that we hand out to employees whenever they identify emails that that are phishing emails. I'll kind of show off my cyber warrior coin if that can be seen. Yep. We hand those out to employees. We have other swag that we hand out. I will tell you that just recently, one of the surliest employees probably kept the physical access from happening at one of our water treatment facilities. And he was stubborn and perfect.
Nice.
And he did a great job. So I rewarded him with one of our Cyber Warrior mugs and some of the swag. And he came over today. We took his picture. We do a monthly newsletter. I rotated around my direct report staff to author it. And we put those pictures of people that have done great things here at the city. It's just the culture.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
You said so much. There's like so much to unpack. I can imagine both. Ryan and I have a ton of questions, but let me start with one because, I want to go way back in your story. You talked about you have all of your senior management and council on board. 100%. We get this question all the time, and it's a really simple one, but probably not a simple answer. How? How did you get all senior management on board?
Salesmanship.
I wanted a different answer, Bernie. I wanted a secret. I wanted some magic or something. I don't know.
You get other people to replicate this.
Yeah.
So we have a very, very good council. They understand their role. They don't get operationally involved. That's the city manager's job. The city manager really is the key. I got to tell you, that's the key. If the city manager's on board and understands, and it's like the physical social engineering aspect we just did this week. He said, I texted him and one of the deputy city managers. I said, boss, here's what I want to do. Here's why I want to do it. And I'm telling it's less than 10 lines in a text. And I said, do you want me to tell anybody else? He said, I'm on board with it. Don't tell anyone else. And that's really all I need.
Yeah.
And his relationship with the council is a strong one. And so those are all key factors.
Yeah.
So salesmanship, city manager.
Many organizations that when you get the top down in support, then you have the culture that you just spoke about. I think I think I could see it on his face. He's got a question, so I'm going to shut up for a second.
Well, I mean, you keep talking about this amazing team that you have. So can you talk about how you built this team, like what it took to find the people to make such a great team?
All right, so I'll tell you, when I came back here 8 years ago, sitting in my boss's office, and he and I worked together before, so I call him Boss Man. And I'm sitting there, and I said, okay, Boss Man, what do you want me to do? I kind of have an idea. Tell me what your strategy is. He said, I want you to fire everybody. IT had a very bad reputation here at the City of Bryan. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. You should have done that before you hired me. Give me a time frame for fixing it. He said, 90 days. Of course, we both laughed. And I said, okay, I'll accept. 6 months later, we had a 70% turnover without firing anybody. Just had to raise the bar, and transition happened. And those that I did one-on-ones with everybody when I first got here. I knew who I wanted. I knew who probably was on the edge and who I didn't. And so people kind of figured it out themselves.
So what's the metric that you were using to, like, what were you looking for in these people that you were so interested in?
I wish I could tell you
We're looking for a scientific method.
I value people looking me in the eye when I'm having these one-on-ones. I'll give you an example, two examples, and they're very on opposite ends of the pendulum. One came in and treated it like a job interview. They came in dressed to the hilt, like they were interviewing for a job. Bam. I had another one come in, and our conversation morphed to talking about history. Both of us are history buffs. We didn't talk about anything else. But that relationship, I was looking for relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't necessarily looking for skill. I was looking for the ability to have a relationship and understand the concept, the team concept. And then, so after that, and it's kind of a two-part answer, I know I answered your question, but then I introduced what I call my Acre-isms, my little pet peeves. And that had a few people leave. And they were tough ones, like being to a meeting 5 minutes before the meeting starts. Tough one.
There's no such thing as on time. You're either late or you're on time.
I'm a military guy.
Yep. I get it.
Yeah. And it was all based on teamwork. And the folks that have stuck around are just awesome.
But I do like the thing that you said there, because it's setting that bar to where you want, like, you have to meet this minimum just to be here, automatically weeds out those who can't or won't. So instead of you having to come in and kick the door down and throw a couple people to the curb, you're helping them see, yeah, this is probably not the job for me, because boy, I got to do this, but I really like being here. So,
I'll tell you two of the other ones that were so basic. No blue jeans and no T-shirts. Oh, there was another one. Tuck your shirt in. I didn't want to like I said, I'm a military guy. I like dress like you want the next job. Mm-hmm. So that's really what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I'm glad I put a shirt on for this.
Yeah. Yeah, normally he walks around shirtless. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I want to share with you two comments that were made to me by fire chief and police chief, the ones we have here. Our police chief retired from another city in the Midwest, 25 years or so, and then came down here. And after 6-8 months, and he's told me this since then as well, he said, Bernie, when I was at this city before, IT sucked. When I came to this city, IT sucked. I hope I can say that.
Sure. Yeah, you can say that.
Because I already did.
Yeah.
Just bleep it out. He said, but he said, now you're on board, and IT doesn't suck, and it doesn't have to. So, and our fire chief feels the same way. You see, they buy us shirts, support staff. They like us, and that's what we want.
That's an interesting thought, because I think a lot of times in the realm of InfoSec, we hear many companies that their security teams are adversarial. It's almost like, I got to catch you because that's what they're paying me to do. So it becomes this cat and mouse game. But it seems like you approach this as, I'm trying to help my team, and I'm the team leader that's trying to help my team. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like that really helps your whole team, everyone in different departments.
It does.
Feel like you're their advocate, not their adversary.
Absolutely right. Now that you've said that, though, we do have the hammer. We created a policy, and it was approved by all of the senior staff that for our cybersecurity awareness training policy, we took it from the Know Before template. Know Before has a pretty tough employment expectation in clicking on phishing campaigns. I think I don't know what, I'm going to say 8 and 20 years, and that's tough. Well, we've created our policy has 6 levels, and ours resets every 12 months. So think about it. You could have up to 5 clicks every year for a 20-year career. I would consider you a liability to the organization if you did that, if you click that often. Well, this policy, these steps have escalation procedures. Conversation, documentation, other whatever, you could get terminated based on anything else, terminated. Finally, 6th time in 12 months, you're terminated. So that scared employees at first. We send out reports. I think I provided you some of a report that we send out monthly after each phishing campaign. And in that report is a department spread. And so we have the spreadsheet that tracks how every department is doing, and then we calculate how you rack and stack. I send that out to the directors of all those departments, and they get to see whether they're first or last. And I have one expectation for my team. And that's 0. And we do pretty good for the most part. Once in a while, we will have a click. But I have a much tighter expectation than the 6. So mine is 3. So I think the most I've had by anyone in 12 months is 2.
Mm-hmm. So lead by example.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my name goes on there if I click. And so does the city manager's name go on there if he clicks.
That's another interesting point, because I think a lot of times we talk to companies and they say that their senior management says, well, you could do this testing, but just don't include me, right? Like, I'm not part of the testing process. And we always tell them when they ask, well, do you agree with that? And it's like, well, that's like saying that in a household, the dad makes these rules and he says to the kids, these rules are for you, but I don't have to follow them. I can do whatever I want. Well, those kids are not going to respect that dad.
No.
And soon as they get a modicum of freedom, they're going to be like a loose spring bouncing all over the place, because they're like, well, dad didn't follow the rules, so I don't have to.
Correct.
So showing that, to everyone down below, hey, when I fall for this, my name's going to be there. You're going to know that the team leader fell for the fish, and that's pretty good.
And it's not unusual for an employee here at the city to email me with I like to joke. I have a very dry sense of humor, and the employees will send me, the campaign got you this time, or ha ha ha, something like that.
Yeah.
They need that, and they need to see that we are human as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And when you could take it, then it also shows them that it's okay. Well, look, I fell for it. Doesn't define me. I'm going to now get some education and move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have to work up to that? Was your senior management always on board with being part of the testing, or was that something that you had to convince them for?
So let me answer it this way, that it was a tough sell to sell the program at first. And I actually had resistance from some that I didn't expect resistance from, based on where they were in the organization. But eventually everybody came around. We went through several iterations of this policy. And some had more to say in it and some didn't. So eventually we put it all together, and we here at the City of Bryan, the way the city manager runs it is, all the direct reports, I think there's like 10 of us, sit in a conference room, and he will ask everybody, you on board or not with this? And it was unanimous. And so once that's done, you've got everybody's buy-in. And so I'd asked during that time, okay, we're not exempt. And I didn't really ask. I said, we're not exempt from this. And they all agreed, no, we can't be. And then even the council's not exempt. So there you go. That's how that works.
Yeah, and it's a smart plan because, again, just to reiterate, we've seen it go the other direction. And it's really, really hard for employees to respect not just the management, but the program itself. We've actually seen companies where employees will set up their own rules to just catch the fish so that way they could pass it, not really seeing that there's benefit to the program, benefit to reporting, benefit to taking all of the steps that are necessary to safeguard the company themselves, their families, because it feels so adversarial. It feels like mom and dad are just trying to catch you in that lie and you're going to get in trouble.
I think I'm leaving one thing out, and now that you've said that, the CISO and I, we have a PowerPoint presentation that we tag team on. And like I said, we've worked together for many years, so we can play off each other really well. And we go around to each department. We update, we keep everything current, and we present that training, 1 hour training, to that department. Here's something I did leave out, is everybody here at the City of Bryan is required to take 3 hours of cybersecurity training every year. Multiply that times 1,000. That's how many hours we're committing to cybersecurity. That face-to-face with us is 1 hour of that. The annual Texas required cybersecurity training is another hour of that. And then they have a choice between multiple courses. And KnowBe4 has a plethora of courses out there that we have set up in our LMS that they can take. So,
and you let them choose that. So
yes.
That's kind of nice too, because sometimes people, like somebody has a kid at home and maybe there's a training on how to keep your kids safe, or someone's dealing with an older parent and it's like how to keep your elderly family safe. And those courses may not be applicable to me if I don't have kids or an older family I'm taking care of, but by letting them choose it, you're letting them take a piece of education that is really
Correct.
Personal for them, and that's a nice touch.
And our newsletters include topics that people can take home with them for that purpose. I always put a little tagline in it saying, share with your family, friends, and frenemies.
Nice.
So have you always had the philosophy of encouraging that the security training that you do at work become personal in addition to just about your organization?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Part of our training, one of the things I emphasize in training is you shouldn't have, if you have young children at home, teenager under, you shouldn't have a computer in a room by itself where you can't monitor in some way what they're doing on the computer.
Yeah.
And it should definitely not be behind a closed door. So those are, that's just one example.
Yeah, it's smart parenting, right? I mean,
yeah.
When parents ask us the same thing, especially with our work with ILF, we tell them that, a parent who monitors their children are less likely to be a victim of grooming or some online predator.
And I'm very selfish in my cybersecurity messaging and what I tell everyone is I want everybody to think of me as the center of the universe. And I'm the hub and the wheel. And Chris, you're a spoke on my wheel today. And if Chris takes the same attitude as being the hub in his universe, we're all extending our defenses further and further out.
Mm-hmm. I like it. So if you had to give some advice for folks, like, maybe there's somebody here who's starting off their career, right? They're just going to become a CISO or a CIO. That's maybe their future goal. They're getting handed this job presently. If you could say to them, look, here's 3 things I want you to focus on so you could be the best at that job, what would you tell them?
I would suggest that in high school, be as much of a nerd as you can and don't worry about what other people are thinking. There's a lot of career and technology courses, programs out there that offer computer coursework, or some of the local ones are even offering cyber. We work with them directly. We work with the high school to have kids come in from time to time, and my managers and I, we sit around and we talk about what we do and what they need to do, what they need to focus on if they want to get in this field. Some people see it as boring. We see it as exciting, as you can probably hear it in my voice. Mm-hmm. And that's after 41 years. There's still excitement. So one of the things I tell employees when I'm giving the departmental training is, if you want your kids to take care of you, get them into cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. That's a good paycheck. And I don't know if I completely answered your question, but there's just
no. It was great. It was a great piece of advice. We because right now there's 526,000 jobs needed to be filled in this country, and people will ask, well, what advice do you have for me to get into the field? So we like to take people, like you said, you've been in this field now 41 years. So if some young guy or gal is listening to this podcast and saying, I want to be Bernie in 40 years from now, then what is the advice? How do they get there? So
I did it I took a different path, but I would suggest that you don't have this expectation you're going to come out and make six figures necessarily. Coming out of high school, you're not going to do that. You'd be fortunate to make 40 to 50K coming out of high school. Coming out of college, you probably you're going to make some more. But it's going to take time. It's going to take growth. It's going to take opportunity, and it's going to take you to be ready all the time and to step up. One of the things that I emphasize to the management and supervisory group is stop wearing the low quality clothes. Start wearing the clothing for the next position. But wear that button-up shirt, except for on Fridays. I dress like this.
Dress for the job you want, not for the job you have, right?
Exactly, and you should see the difference in the team here already. It's remarkable how the transition's taking place.
It's why I come to work dressed as Batman.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
It's ironic that you said that, because one of my supervisors who is off today came in with his Batman T-shirt.
Sorry, Ryan, go ahead. I cut you off.
No, I like that you mentioned growth in that, as opposed to just taking the time to learn, also taking the time to grow. That's a really important part, because it gets people outside their comfort zone, allows them to kind of do something that maybe they're not used to, but it definitely improves their overall well-being.
Thank you. I really, I tell everybody, take the good and bad qualities you see that come out of me and use them for your benefit later on in life. And that's part of succession planning. And I challenge each and every one of them, and I will put them all in uncomfortable situations intentionally to see what kind of fortitude they have in getting out of that situation, or not getting out, but what they do with it. Mm-hmm. So I throw them a project that they don't really know a lot about and see what they do with it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Because when you find that 1 or 2 or 10 or whatever people that really take the time to self-educate, that person's worth more than their weight in gold.
Absolutely.
I mean, seriously, we have some employees here at our company that you give them a task, and if they don't know it, without even asking them, they will put themselves through all sorts of training, teaching, reading, just to learn that skill. And that person, I will do anything to not lose them. That's a hard skill to find.
Absolutely. There's another aspect that we didn't talk about, and that's pay. Our city manager believes in compensating us. I'm happy. I'm very happy. Could I make more? Sure, but I'm very happy. I make enough to make me happy, and that trickles down to the team members. We also have a certification pay program where, up to a certain amount of certifications, I created a table based on your progression. You could get an extra $600 a month if you get the certifications.
Nice. Yeah.
So
So,
what
sorry, go
what
ahead,
do you
Ryan.
have? What do you have for? So you build up this amazing team, and you're challenging them, and you're making them learn new things. What do you do to help combat like the concept of burning out, or like just self-care, like those coping mechanisms? What do you and your team do, or what advice can you give?
Be there for them, truthfully. I personally believe that the bosses that come across as a boss aren't very successful. Everybody knows you're the boss. You don't need to emphasize you're the boss. Allowing them to vent, allowing them to contradict, allowing them to get some downtime, being nice. I pick on my team a lot. We have so much fun, and it works for us.
It goes back to that culture that you talked about before.
Yeah.
It seems like, that if the culture is warm and friendly and inviting, then people will feel that way, which will also make them feel comfortable to come and tell you if they're feeling ready to burn out or stressed, or life has got, something in their life has got them down. It may not even be the job.
I will tell you, and that's right. I will tell you that I can be. I know you have to know your personality too, as a leader. I can come across as intimidating. I'm very direct. I tell you what I think rather than what you want me to tell you. You may not like it, but you can tell me the same thing. It's fine. I had one employee who worked in another building. I consolidated all of us into one facility, and he was afraid to come over. And he was afraid of me, is what I eventually found out. And so I brought him in here one-on-one, and I said, "What's going on?" And finally he told me, and I said, "Don't worry about it, man. Just don't worry about it. If you don't like it after 2-3 months, I'll give you a recommendation. I'll give you whatever you need or reference to get another job. Just try it out." He's the one that comes in here and talks the most smack with me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He realized I was human.
Yeah. I think sometimes what lacks a lot of times in organizations is communication.
Yeah.
And what you just said sounds like you have a really good open line, open door policy, and people feel very comfortable in communicating with you.
I would think so. I would hope they feel that way.
One of the things we like to ask on this series is for people in the industry that you respected the most, maybe someone you consider a colleague, a mentor, somebody that you might think, that just helped you along in your career, that you now look up to and go, man, this is someone everyone should know about.
I got to tell you that I've had, and you read I'm sure you read that email. I've had a lot of mentors. But in this industry, from a leadership perspective, let's take it out of the industry first. From a leadership, I had some good commanders. I had some bad commanders in the military. And the best commander respected you, and kind of what I just told you, allowed that free flow of communication as long as it was respectful, and if you were behind closed doors or not, etc. But I still keep in touch with him on Facebook, and his wife as well. He was the one that was there in my retirement. It was just, he was the one I respected the most, and it was all leadership. Now, when it comes to this industry, Chris, I got to tell you, you're on that list.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So is Roger, and so is Stu, and there's just, of course, Kevin. Those y'all are mentors to me, and you don't have to be older to be a mentor. you guys have done a great thing. I like what you do with your foundation. I wear your T-shirt, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. The pen broke, though, but I still wear the T-shirt.
Not at
What's
work.
that?
Not at work, you don't.
Not at work. It's funny. I'll pull it out of the closet. I'll put it on, and my wife says, "No, where did you get that again?" And I have to re-explain to her where I got it.
Oh, thank you. That's very validating. Not expected, but thank you very much for that.
You can pay me later.
Yeah, I'll send you the checks in the mail. I promise. No. One of the other things that people, 12 years we've been doing this. It started off kind of as a gimmick, and now we've done it for 152 episodes, which is ask our guests for book recommendations. People love to read, and they love to read. And you know what I love about this question? It doesn't have to be about InfoSec or your job or anything like that. It can be just a book that you read that you were like, man, I love this book. I want to tell people about it.
Yes. And I have to look to my right here because I have the list, or the names. I am a history buff. I think I mentioned that already in this conversation. And that is my step away from this life. These books are not easy reading. They're very thick and they're smaller print. So I have to get my magnifying glass out now, Chris. the sheet. But Winning America books by Alan Eckert are by far my favorite. They were written mostly in the 60s. And the thing that I like about them the most is the amount of detail. They're works of fiction, but there are actual references to conversations and to actual events that this person participated in. It goes, and what's really neat is you can cross-reference front and back of the book. He includes a map in the book. I copied it and blew it up so that I can have my map laying there and follow what they're doing. And people that are just regular people like us to the people that were, that are famous, George Washington, et cetera, and all that. But it starts in the late 1500s and goes all the way up to the early 1800s in the early settling of the mainly the Ohio River Valley down to the Mississippi River and Ohio up.
So it's
and I'm originally
history,
from Western
but
Pennsylvania.
It's real history mixed with story.
That's correct. I also love James
Fascinating.
McNair. I love him. So.
Who is that? The author of the book?
Alan Eckert.
Oh, Alan Eckert. And then what was the second one?
James McNair.
Okay.
So James McNair is famous for writing from when the dinosaur egg was laid to our conversation today in a book. is the best I can describe it.
Wow. I mean, that must not be just a book. That must be an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, his history writing is I like. Of course, I like real world history. There's one in particular that is my favorite that's out of this area, sort of. It's just a minute. Valor Across the Lone Star.
Okay.
And basically, it's about all of the, in this case, men that have actually won the Medal of Honor while serving on active duty while in Texas. And then what's really cool is you read each of these stories, and then it will reference you to the back quarter of the book, and it tells you what happened to that man after that life event. Some end up alcoholics, drunk, dead, shot, successful, unsuccessful, farmer.
So what?
Whatever.
This is not a normal question I ask after, but I'm just curious. What got you into history to where you actually really like that? Those are some pretty hefty reads. It sounds like.
I've always enjoyed history. Sometimes I don't know. I just always enjoyed history.
Just a topic that's always been close to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think at one point in my life I thought I might be a teacher or professor of history or something, but there's no money in that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and you're right. There is no money in that. There is none. But yes, there's still time, though. Yeah,
there is. Yeah.
You're only 42, right?
Maybe a third career. Yeah,
Yeah, third career, right? So, Bernie, if people want to follow you or find out more about you, are you active anywhere on social media, or is there a site they can go to?
Well, I have LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn account. I can't tell you what it is off the top of my head.
It's okay. We'll find it and link it in the show notes.
Okay. Of course, we have our generic information posted out on our City of Bryan website.
Do you have job listings there? Like if you're hiring, because it sounds, I mean, people may be like, I want to be part of that team.
Well, we do. We have one opening right now, and that is for a senior GIS technician. So mapping also falls under my responsibility, is all of the geospatial stuff.
So yeah, just another thing. Yeah.
People ask me what I do, and I say I really don't do anything. Everybody else does it.
Good job description. Okay, so we could put that in there in the show notes, so people, if they're interested. I mean, I think a lot of times when people are looking in this industry, I've talked to many who are through COVID and have been looking for new work, and the team is a big deal to them. You know,
yeah.
The team is where they can go for that.
We've been very fortunate, and it's not just local folks that we've recruited here. We recruited a guy that randomly found us. He was from Long Island, and we interviewed him. First time I've ever hired anybody via video conferencing, and he has fit into the team. He wears his cowboy hat and cowboy boots, got himself a 4-wheel drive pickup truck.
Hey, the pandemic has made us all have to adjust, right? I hired a VP of sales, never met the guy until a week and a half ago.
Yes.
And he was working for me, and then I had to go to D.C. for a speech, and that's where he was. And I'm like, oh, let's finally meet. And I got to meet him for the first time in person. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you are more than a two-dimensional image on a screen.
Yes.
I'm like, that's kind of cool. Yeah. So I get it. This has changed a lot about how we interact, but that really fascinating conversation. And thank you for all the thoughts on team dynamics, building a strong team, and from the really, to me, one of the best takeaways is that top-down mentality that needs to exist in organizations today to remain secure. So
the CEO needs to be on board.
Yeah.
And the mayor.
In our case, the mayor.
Yes. And that is just, I love the lesson. It's something that is valuable for every organization, regardless of size, to hear this. So thank you for sharing that with us and coming on board today. And thank you for the nice compliment and being part of the conference. I can't wait for next year.
Oh, looking forward to it.
We get to see you and hopefully in person.
Like I said, I keep these right.
And people who are watching that say, "Hey, what are those?" Oh, you got to come to the conference to find out. We're not even telling
I got both of them.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I mean, you're like one of the rare ones because
I know.
You can't. That means you came to the very first year, and now we're oh man, this year, wait till you see. We'll talk about it after. But anyhow, Bernie, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, check out the show notes for all the links and different details that you want to check out there. Also, don't forget innocentlivesfoundation.org. And next month on the Security Awareness Series, we'll be joined by Ed Scotus, and we'll be talking about his founding of CounterHack and all the different things he's done in his career. And it's just always fun when we have Ed on the show. So join us for that. And until next month, we'll see you.